Welcome to the Trint webinar on collaborative content creation. I got a quick look at some of the registrants for today, and it's exciting for me to have a group of people attending from so many different company types. Gets the wheels in my head spinning because I'm super interested to hear about your individual workflows and how you folks are doing things today. But that's not why we're here. This session isn't for me, it's for you. So let me kick things off. My name is Michael Pacheco. I'm an account executive here at Trint. All that means is it's my job to give you whatever information you might need in order to give Trint a thorough evaluation. For today's webinar, I'll be taking you through Trint and how we can help you with collaborative work and content creation. A few points to note, Trint is the most secure AI speech-to-text software on the market today. We are ISO accredited. We have tens of thousands of users across the globe. We're in use at larger media companies like the Associated Press, CNN, Washington Post, as well as corporations like Nike, Airbnb, and JetBlue. A few quick housekeeping notes before we dive into the demo. The webinar today is 30 minutes long. We've allocated 10 minutes for questions at the end, so 20 minutes of demo, 10 minutes of questions. If you have any questions throughout, we do have people monitoring the chat, so feel free to drop them in there. If we don't get to your question during this meeting or this webinar today, we will follow up with you after the webinar. We'll also be sending out this recording so that you have it for your reference. Let me go over to, here we go. So I'm starting us out inside of a Trint. A little bit of preamble for those that aren't super familiar with who we are, what we do, why or how we help our customers. Some of the more common reasons people evaluate us is we help them in areas like they're having challenges with that they're unable to create enough content to reach their audiences on every platform, or they may feel that they're missing out on audiences who speak other languages. Also, some people I speak to, their competitors are already taking advantage of this kind of automation to cut turnaround times. So it sort of puts them at a competitive advantage. So they're coming to us to help them catch up. If you're here for a different reason, which I know they're varied, feel free to drop it into the chat today if you're so inclined. And I'll start this demo here. So starting in this Trint or transcript of Lou Gehrig clip from the 30s. At a high level, what Trint is doing is we're enabling you to easily drop files into our web-based software where our AI transcribes the file. Then you can easily search and edit that transcript, translate it if needed, collaborate with colleagues, and quickly distribute that content in a variety of formats. So with this file here, I'll play it for you in a moment, but you'll see that the video is going along here, and then the text is going to follow along sort of like karaoke. I like to use this clip just because it's older and the audio is not great. So it gives you kind of an honest feel for how accurate it is Trint really. So I'll play it here for about 15, 20 seconds and you can see what I mean. So I'll stop it there. I think you get the idea. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. So if you're following along, you'll have noticed that there were a few errors. So it got Lou Gehrig's name correct the first time up here. The second time it didn't. It picked it up as Greg. Something like that happens. No big deal. You can just come in, make the correction. So Gehrig, and then you're going to want to add it to both our vocabulary builder. So you see at the bottom here, bottom left, words added. So what that's going to do is if I were to upload this piece of content again, it's going to get that correct. So if you have things like odd spellings of cities or people's names or proper nouns or anything like that, you can simply make the correction in the transcript, add it to the vocab builder, and then it'll pick it up correctly the next time. another error it made here. So it said picked up for the past 2 weeks twice because he's in the stadium. Again, the audio was pretty terrible. So I'm going to want to cross that out. So I'm maintaining the time code integrity because you'll see as you follow along here, this is starting at 0 and it's giving you the time code as you go. So he only said that once, so we don't want to delete it. We want to cross it out. Then for anybody who's a baseball fan or a Yankee fan, here's that luckiest man alive quote that's often misquoted. So if I want to highlight that, that's important to me for sake of argument, let's say. You're going to get a few things here because the video is associated with the transcript, right? So you get the in time of that highlight, the out time, and the duration. Could do some other things here. So say I wanted somebody to do something with this, I can put a comment here. So I can mention, I'll just tag myself, hey, Michael, post to Facebook, let's say. Although, of course, your comment could be anything. You can, with those comments, you can @mention somebody, or you can just drop a general comment. When you do @mention somebody, what that's going to do, if I go over to my email here, is I'm going to get an email. So there it is, that Lou Gehrig Trint that I'm in. So I get notified. It says post to Facebook. So if you want to tag somebody with an action, they can get that email, see what it is they need to do, and then there's a link here which will take them directly back to that Trint, so they can do what they needed to do. So if now what I'm going to do is say translate this into Spanish. Well, I was doing Spanish before, maybe I'll do French. So we do French. It's really quite quick. I don't speak French. I don't speak any second language. Embarrassingly, I probably should. But what the feedback we've gotten from, we're in use, we have French customers, we have Spanish customers, kind of runs the gamut, German, lots of various languages. The feedback that we've gotten on our translation is all positive. I'd encourage you to, because depending on your company size, you have access to a free trial on individual plans on the website if you want to try that. If you're an enterprise size company, you can reach out to us and we can set up an enterprise trial where you can try this free yourself and see how accurate the transcription and translation actually is. If I want to export this, very easy. I come to export here in the upper right. So I'm going to export it in Word just for simplicity, but obviously all the formats are here. If you're sending this to another piece of software, if it's Adobe, if it's Avid, sorry, for your additional editing, you can do that. You can export the entire transcript or just the highlights. I'm going to do the whole transcript here. I'm going to go over to my Google folder and just drop that in there. And then I'll open this up. Just so you can see, super easy to get this stuff out of Trint. So there's our transcript. It's got, what was in there. Very, very easy. That's how you get things out of Trint. Usually what comes up next is, well, okay, how do you get stuff into Trint? That's pretty easy as well. So there's an upload button here on the right. You click that. If you happen to be storing things in any of these content repositories or areas, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, you can send it to Trint from there. If it's on your desktop, you can batch upload. You can grab a bunch of things or just one, upload it. So I'll upload this. When you upload something, it's going to ask you a few questions. What language is this in? So you'll have to identify that. So we transcribe in 31 different languages. Do you want to use the vocab builder? So that's that list I showed you that I added Gehrig to. So if you have a list that you built that you want it to reference, you can do that. Do you want it to detect speaker change? And do you want to put that transcript in a workspace? And I'm going to touch on workspaces in a minute. I'm usually asked at this point, okay, seems pretty simple. How fast is it? How long does this take? It takes half the length of the content or less. So if you have a 30-minute interview, it's going to take 15 minutes or less, and everything's processed concurrently. So if you upload 5, 10, 15, however many things, they're all being processed at the same time. We do also have an API, which is another way that a lot of our enterprise customers get their content into Trint, because they're using content management software, or they're using media asset management software already as part of their workflow. So how that works is the user who's interacting with that piece of content interacts with the MAM or CMS how they normally would. The MAM or CMS sends the media to Trint through our API. The user is then notified that, hey, the transcription is complete. The status is updated in the MAM or CMS, and the user can come on here, go into their transcript and edit as they see fit, and then they can export it either in the way I showed you or also using the API, we can automate the export as well. For the workspaces that was kind of on the right, you saw when I uploaded that piece of content. I'll explain those now. Typically, anything you send to Trent, only you will see that unless you share it or you drop it into a workspace. So if I go into a workspace here and manage it, I can change the roles and permissions so that people, so if I want to add a member, I can come in here and say I want to add AJ, which I'm not going to actually do because AJ doesn't care about what I'm doing in Trint. So I've added Phil and Natalie who are on the call with me, and you can make sure that they have the correct permissions. You can remove them very easily. So it's a way that you can ensure that people are only doing and have access to the things that they should have access to. And along that line, we also have an administrator dashboard that obviously only your administrator for your account, if you went with Trint, would have access to. So here's where you would add people if you're giving somebody access to myself. Well, I can't even spell my last name, but that's okay. Add emails, and then here you'd select, what team am I going to put them on. Super easy to give somebody access, Trent, also to either revoke an invitation that you've already sent out or delete and remove someone from Trent entirely. In this administrator dashboard, you can also see things like usage, activity, the workspace permissions that I talked about before. It's, an enterprise dashboard to help your administrator more effectively do the things that they need to do with the account. From here, I'm going to go into a bit of a longer transcript. So I'm going to go into a World Health Organization press briefing from last year. So something about these longer transcripts. So this one's 50 minutes long if you're looking for something in a transcript. So I know at some point in this transcript, they're talking about President Xi in China. And believe it or not, they're talking about what he's doing correct, which is kind of funny. I guess having the benefit of hindsight. So very quickly, I found that there's President Xi, and then I can do what I want to do with this section. So, I want to highlight it yellow. I want to add that comment. I want somebody to do something with it. I can do that. You'll notice here on the left, some of you may have caught that there's no speaker here. So you do have to enter in the speaker the first time, and then as you go through, it's a simple drop down. So you can continue to add that speaker as you go. A few other things to point out is version history. So over here on the left, so as changes are made, you do have access to the previous versions of the document, and you can restore a copy should you need to, which is a very useful feature. You can also, because you can have multiple people in this transcript at the same time, have someone assigned to verify sections of text as you go. So, this came, I had experience with this firsthand during the Trump-Biden debate. We did some testing here at Trent, and I was one of the manual transcribers, unfortunately. So I felt that pain of 4 hours of manual transcription, and it kind of sucked. But the other group that was using Trent had a much easier go of it, and then of course people are assigned to edit and verify as we go, and people are verifying in here, so when a section of text is good to go. Something to note here that if you happen to make, after something's been verified, if I come in here and I'm just going to add, I'm going to add the word hand, that's what came to mind, then that's going to be grayed out. So you'll see that section of text. So if something gets verified and then somebody changes something, you'll know that you have to come back in here and re-verify that. Another thing that's super useful is side-by-side, being able to view transcripts side-by-side. So if I came in here and I have another World Health Organization briefing that's a little more recent, and say I want to look for countries because I want to verify there's something I want to look. So here it says outside China, this many cases reported in 75 countries. and I want to come over here and do the same thing and search countries. And then let's see what it says here. It says 81 countries have not reported cases. So, I mean, this is a very manufactured example, but it sort of gives you the feeling for if you need to do some fact checking or you need to look at two transcripts side by side, that's absolutely something that can be done. So I'll exit that side by side view and I'll go back into the transcripts. You're seeing my file format here. So I'm back inside the coronavirus press conference and say I want to I'm going to show you another feature, story. So say I want to add this to a story. So I'm going to add it to this one here, this David Attenborough. I have a bunch of David Attenborough content in there. So here you see success, add it to the story. If I want to jump right into it, and here it is. So this is another way to build sort of rough cuts and do it in an online format, which is super useful with everyone being remote. So when you're in here, you can move things around as you see fit. So here's the David Attenborough. Here's a clip here, and then I think there's a few from. If I double click here, there's some 60 minutes. Here's the content from Dr. Tedros at the World Health Organization press briefing. You see, it shows you the transcript it comes from on the right here. There, so you can add all this stuff from different transcripts. You can drag this stuff around as you see fit, reorganize it. You can add text. So say I wanted to add something here and say like add B-roll of David Attenborough walking through a garden here. You can do things like that. The point is, we're making it dead simple to create a draft or a rough cut, and then it's easy to advance onward editing by cutting out the media sequencing in other software like Adobe. When you're ready to export, you can do that here. We also have sharing here, which I've been talking a lot. I don't remember if I showed you this or not, but in case I didn't, it's super easy to share. You can add the collaborators here. You can invite people. If I'm in a transcript, if I click on, let's say, this David Attenborough one that this was taken from, and I want to share, same thing, super easy to do that, to include other people to sending that transcript to. So I go to share. If I want to send a copy, I can add people here. I'll pick on AJ again. You can write a message and send it. You can share a public link, and then down here it's going to show you who you shared that with, right? Who has access? What can they do? They can edit. They can comment. You can change that there. So I guess I've been yammering on for about 20 minutes straight. I hope that was somewhat useful. I guess the overarching point here at Trint is we don't make content here at Trint, but we do make our customers, those content creators, wildly efficient so they can continue to do great work. And I think we're resonating in the industry. Some of our larger customers are starting to use Trint as a verb. They'll say that they Trinted something, or hey, look at this Trint when they're talking about transcripts. But I think that I've talked enough. Hopefully some of you are still with me. I think this is a good point, because I did say 20 minutes of demo, 10 minutes of questions. I'll pause here, and Phil, Matt, please let me know if there are any questions from the group. I'd be happy to answer them. Don't throw them all at me at once. Are they being dropped into the chat? Let me see here. Oh, okay. Sorry, there you guys were dropping them in the chat. First question: how accurate is Trint? Great question. We see as high as 95 to 98% with professional setup. And then the Trint editor takes over from there. So to polish it to 100%. So I should add there that, if a good rule of thumb is if it's difficult for you to discern and understand what they're saying, it's also going to be difficult for Trint. Good example, I talked about the Trump-Biden stuff from earlier this year. There was that town hall and there was tons of overtalk. when I was listening to it, it was hard for me to pick it up. Trent's going to pick a lot of it up, but it's going to be, it's not going to do as good a job as when it's clear. Next question, how do we, let me see here. Oh, how do we integrate? So integration. So can we integrate into other software for collaboration? Yeah, absolutely. So there's the API that I mentioned that you can use to connect to your MAM or CMS and automate the import export of content. They're also easy to set up automations with Zapier for a host of other applications, Google, Slack. I forget all of them, but if the person that asked that wants to, if there's a specific one you're thinking of, let me know and I can confirm that for you. Oh, okay, it's kind of a toughie. What's the typical ROI for our customers? I mean, it's going to be a little bit different depending on the use case. So I'm not getting they're not telling me who's asking these. So if you want specifics, please reach out after. I'm happy to talk about your specific workflows and like what would be the ROI for you specifically. But in general, it's time savings. So there's clearly a tangible ROI associated with time savings, how much more efficient a team can be when they're collaborating using Trint. Second, an increased audience. So one, putting stuff out quicker, I think does have an organic effect on increasing your audience by nature of you being first and quicker, but also there's an ROI in expanding your audience for people that don't speak English. Apparently I can't even speak it. So there's billions of people in the world who aren't able to understand English at a talking pace. So by using Trint, you can quickly translate into local languages, subtitle your content, and those people become a potential audience for you. Don't be shy. If there's more questions, throw them at me. What are next steps for signing up to Trint? I love hearing that. Depends on the size of your group. So if it's a handful of people or just one person, just for yourself, you can go to the website. It's very easy to look at plans there. It's super clear and intuitive for you to look at the features you get. You can understand what would suit you best, and you can select that. If you're part of an enterprise, if it's a larger group or you're part of a larger company, then you need an enterprise price plan, which admittedly there's not a ton of information on our website about that other than the feature differences. So you'd have to talk to someone at Trent, one of our salespeople, and we kind of walk you through the next steps. So generally those enterprise evaluations, there are things that you guys are going to need from us. So you'd work directly with someone at Trent so we can provide that to you. Like, do we need to pass an IT security review? Is there, what things do we need to show you so that you are comfortable that we're going to integrate with your current tech stack, things of that nature. And then when appropriate, we walk you through the startup process. And it looks like there's no more questions. So I'm not one to hold folks hostage. So I think that what I'll do is thank you all for your time and attention today. If any of you want more information, you'll be provided with our contact details. So we'll be happy to get that to you. And thank you very much for attending today. I appreciate it.
The news today.